Hello everybody, how's life treating you today? Well, this video I'm going to try to continue on as what had happened. If you've been following my videos, you'll notice on my last video I was working for a company and I got a back injury. I had a back surgery which done more harm than it did good. And I was laid up for a year, year and a half, 2 years, something like that. It was a while. Now, at the same time, I was also a volunteer firefighter, but I was unable to go fight fires anymore because I was injured. But I'd been there so long, I'd done worked my way up to secretary treasurer, which is all voluntary stuff, wasn't no money involved in it, but I enjoyed it. Got out and networked with the other guys in the fire department, and friendships formed, and we had a good time and learned a lot and helped people, and I enjoyed it. Well, about this time, there's an elderly lady come along and asked, she had had a surgery and her husband was down from a surgery too. They were elderly and want to know if we can cut her grass in her yard. I said, well, yeah, I reckon we can. So I didn't have nothing but one of these little bitty cheap Murray lawn mowers, a little 30-inch or something. So we went over and cut her grass, and it broke down, and I had to fix it, and I'd mow a little more, and it'd break down again. I had to fix it. But that's just life. And while we were there mowing her yard, some other people seen us mowing this yard, and I didn't know them, but I reckon they knew we didn't live there. So they pulled in the driveway and asked us, y'all mow yards? I said, well, I can, And well, she needed her yard mowed. And it kind of growed from there. We started mowing a few yards, and every time we mow a yard, I had to fix and repair on this old lawnmower. And I finally told my wife, look, if we're going to do this, we need to do it right and get us a commercial lawnmower. So we went off and bought us one of them commercial Skag lawnmowers, some commercial weed eaters and hedge clippers and things we needed, blowers. And we started cutting grass, which I was unable to do any of the major work. All I could do was sit on a lawnmower and drive, My wife and my kids, they would all do the weed eating and trimming and stuff like that. And so this went on. We started getting more yards, and actually started to make a little bit of a profit and support ourselves with it. And because we were living on skin and bone at the time because I was unable to work. And and it was a good family business, kept the family tight, and we did okay. Well, one of the first ladies I started cutting her yard, she was like my third, fourth customer. She wanted us to cut her yard every week. She was from New Orleans, but she'd moved out here in the country where we were living. And had a pretty nice sized yard. Anyway, we started mowing her yard. And we got more yards too. And about 5 years after we started this, guess what? This lady had already moved back into the city, not New Orleans, but into the city. And was living in a subdivision. Well, 5 years later, guess what happened? Katrina hit. Now, I'm in the fire department. And 5 years later, I'm getting where I can get around a little bit better. I still can't walk around with no heavy weed eater in my hand all day, but I can walk around and do things. Well, Katrina come through South Louisiana and destroyed everything. So I thought it was my place to get out and help people. So me and the other firemen in our department, we got out and we cleared roads and we got food and ice and water to people, and you know, that went on for quite a little while. Well, 2 weeks after Katrina come through, I said, look, I got to get back and mow my customers' yards because it was still warm weather. Grass wasn't growing fast, but it was still growing. And so I took off, and I went to this subdivision where this lady lived. And by that time, I had done got the whole subdivision. I had every house in this subdivision. That was such a blessing. That actually made us enough of a profit from this mowing this one subdivision that we could have a decent life. Well, after Katrina hit, and I spent 2 weeks helping the neighborhood, and I loaded my lawnmower back up to go to her house and mow her yard. I got there and her yard was already mowed. Like I went to the next house, it was already mowed. And the next house, and the next house, and the next house. The whole subdivision had already been mowed. So I started asking the homeowners, look, what's going on? Well, we signed a contract with a different company. You missed last week, so we just hired somebody else. We signed a contract. So in one swipe of 2 weeks, I lost the whole subdivision. And without that subdivision, I didn't have enough customers to make it even worth staying in it. And I'd worked 5 years building this lawn care business up. And I couldn't believe some of these people. People I had thought we'd become friends with. I mean, I would be at their house mowing their yard, and they would be on the porch crying to my wife about how their husband did something they didn't like, or I ain't gonna go into what they were crying about, but they would be crying on my wife's shoulder while I was mowing the yard. I mean, this has been for years, and I thought, you know, there's a friendship bond there. But they will dump you in a heartbeat. Rich people don't care. During my experiences of mowing lawns, I went to people's houses that were disabled. And by the time I parked my truck in their yard and was climbing out the door, they would be hobbling, you know, on one leg or something across the yard to pay me for cutting it. This subdivision full of rich people, to this day, they still owe me thousands and thousands of dollars. They just never did pay. And I reckon that's how rich people get rich. They just screw people over and don't pay them and what have you. But that's what I was wanting to talk about, is the fact that don't put your faith in what you perceive as friendships. Like I said, I thought these people, I'd become friends with them. I'd been mowing their yards for 5 years. They'd been crying on my wife's shoulders about every time we'd go cut their yard. And, some of their kids had passed away in a car wreck, and we'd go to the funerals, you know. I mean, we were involved. We wasn't just go in there, cut the grass, and leave. You know, we were involved with these people. We thought they had a bond of friendship with them. You don't have, people of our class don't have bonds with the rich class. Trust me. There's two totally different worlds. So after that, after I lost that subdivision, it got to a point where it really wasn't not worth staying in the lawn care business. I didn't have enough yards to make a living at it, and I didn't want to spend another 5 years trying to build my business back up. So I went to college, back to college at 36 years old, studied for 2 years to get a associate's degree. I thought I needed to find a job that would not involve physical labor because of my back injury. But anyway, I got an associate's degree in mechanical and structural AutoCAD drafting. And the school I went to had a program where if you went to school there, they would help you find your first job. Well, this is around 2008 when the bubble burst and everything was going to squat. Stock housing markets was crashing and everything. There wasn't no drafting jobs for sure. So the college got me a job as a school teacher in a high school, teaching a group of kids a trade, whether it be welding, refrigeration, lawn care, maintenance. Some of these kids would never be able to graduate high school because they were getting too old to ever get enough credits. So they put them in my class and I taught them a trade. That way they could one day get out of school and be a productive person and make a living for themselves. And that lasted about a year. And they decided I wasn't certified. I wasn't a certified teacher. And they decided to let the coach take my place at teaching. And I'd like to see what his qualifications were other than playing ball. But anyway, I lost that job. And, well, that's going to be about it for now. We'll continue this on the next story. If y'all like this kind of content, like, subscribe, hit that bell. And if you have a story of your own you'd like to tell, contact me. We might tell your story. I'm not set up right yet, but will soon be set up to where I can do online interviews with people. So if you want to tell your story, let me know and we'll try to hook it up and interview you and let you tell your story on what has happened. Well, y'all have a good day. God bless. Y'all be good.